Welcome back. You're watching Business Morning on Channels Television. We're continuing our focus on electricity supply in Nigeria. Power in Nigeria is where we're still on at the moment. And I'm talking to the Chairman, Power Group, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Engineer Effiam Edet, who's also Chairman, Energy Institute London, Nigeria branch. Good morning to you, and thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you, Abdullah.
So much developments. Recent ones have been the desire by distribution companies to increase the tariffs for distribution to commercial users and residential users, and that's raised more than a few issues for a lot of people. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think that at this time, because we have more electricity, we should begin to be burdened with having more bills to pay?
Not necessarily. First and foremost, it's not a matter of desire. The review of tariff is stated out in the MITO. The question should be, how do we try to achieve a positive impact with this tariff review? Also, don't forget, there are variables that govern the power tariffs. Variables such as the exchange rate, inflation, price of gas, which is the main fuel for power generation in Nigeria. So all these things have to come into play and taken into consideration. So that is what drives power review.
So higher tariffs.
Power tariff review, rather.
So higher tariffs, yes. Higher tariffs, no. Because there are some consumers who feel that not at this time, when they're still trying to stabilize themselves, should the distribution companies be looking at increasing tariff. So for you, belonging to organized private sector now, do you think at this time that should we have higher tariffs? In light of what you just said, should we have higher tariffs, or should we have lower tariffs, or should we not have any increase at all and just let things stabilize?
How do you stabilize things? That's the key question we need to ask. Look, we've moved from the post-privatization to the transition energy market, and it's contractually driven. You hear the discourse groaning. They can't even pay for the services rendered to them. And again, they're also having challenges with infrastructure. Transformers, wiring, more importantly, metering. That has to happen. You can argue there is CAPME, you can make money, use that for this thing, but beyond CAPME, you also need to fix your transformers. You also need to fix your wiring. You see, the tariff is meant for not only the discos. They might be the smallest in the value chain, but they are the most critical in the value chain, because it's the revenue they make that they use to pay the transmission outfit, and also use to pay the generation outfit. So there is need to have a market reflective tariff, which we don't have. Truth be told, we have the lowest tariff in West African region.
Okay.
And compare that to our GDP, it's not consistent.
But today, in some of the dailies, the Manufacturers Union of Nigeria, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, is actually faulting this tariff increase. What has LCCI, because you've got some members from Manufacturers Association of Nigeria also being members of LCCI. What is LCCI doing with regards engaging with the NERC and these distribution companies?
We've had two events to date. The last one, we had a roundtable session in which the lead discussant was NERC. We had all the stakeholders present, CPC, representative of meter manufacturers, the two main discos in Lagos, ECO and Ikeja, including some of their directors. We put all these tables, all this problem on the table, and we try to find a solution on the way forward. What we need to do is to look at the underlying issues. What man is complaining about is effective power supply. And what do I mean by that? The last I spoke with the man representative was, look, if we spend a higher percentage of our time generating our electricity Why do we need to pay more than it costs us to generate our electricity? So that's the issue. It's not necessarily the issue of tariff. Just like I said at the beginning of this discussion, what positive impact will this tariff review have on consumers?
So let's talk about those impacts.
Good. I've talked about infrastructure, and I think it's key. And in one of the previous programs, which I participated here, I've said the DISCO need three things. They need to partner, they need financing, and they need to outsource. And I'm happy to say here that at our last engagement session, all these things were discussed. And I think the DISCOs are beginning to realize the need to do these things. And don't forget, we are now in a contractual market. They have no choice. They have to live up to expectation.
But then, looking at how it's going to affect businesses, we're talking about ease of doing business now, cost and the ease. How much impact do you think that is going to have? We're going to definitely see an increase.
Not necessarily so, because if we have power, it's going to increase production. But we must look at it from that perspective.
When you have more power, I keep saying this. I think in the last 10 minutes, I've said this like 1 million times. With more power comes more bills. And with more bills, it's going to kind of be translated to the end users, customers like you and I.
Agbe, I'd rather you look at it from this perspective. Presently in Nigeria, if you look at the Economic Intelligence Unit recent study commissioned by IHS, 40% of SMEs business is driven by power. Within the same context, 90% of Nigerian business is SME. Okay, if I reduce my cost of business from 40 to say like by half with increase in production, that would translate to more business, more employment, and more revenue. You see, we need to move from the, yes, I mean, we can be emotional when it comes to utility bills, but we also need to step back and look at the real issues underlying this decision.
But have there been enough engagements for us to take a step back and look at these issues in proper context? Have there been enough engagements?
There may not be enough, but I think there are moves. I mean, of late, DISCOs and even NEC are not allowed to raise tariff without engaging consumers. And that has been the most recent development. There has been engagement, and there will continue to be engagement. The onus on the DISCO is to make sure that when this tariff is increased, consumers can immediately see the positive changes.
When you say positive changes, because we already we're expecting the increase to come in the middle of November, and we've just got about less than 45 days to the end of the year when that happens. So at what point are they going to be seeing the positive increase? Because a lot of people really want to see that positive aspect, positive impact that you keep mentioning, and what a lot of other market watchers have actually said might likely happen.
Good. You are also aware of this embedded power generation project being embarked by DISCOs. With this tariff increase, it will put them in a better position to negotiate with the service provider for the embedded power generation. Whether we like it or not, yes, we've seen some semblance of increase in power supply, but we're not there yet. And the way it is, with a generation capacity of 10,000 megawatts, transmission wheeling capacity of less than 6,000, you're smiling, but that's the truth. So the other option is for DISCOs to generate their own power, and they will not generate power at the same cost as you get the big IPP generate. Okay, because take for instance Lagos. The cheapest fuel they can get in Lagos is gas from local distribution companies. And these local distribution companies will not sell at the same rate as the gas producers. In fact, it's about 2 to 3 times higher than what the gas producers sell. And these things, there's what they call pass-through costs in power generation. It will go to the consumer. So if you call me now as an embedded power generator, I'll have to reflect that in my cost to you. And you must have that capacity to pay me. And that capacity to pay me means that I have enough money in my kitty to pay. And that is where all this increase in tariff will come from.
So now in the days ahead, at least up until the end of the year and into 2016, what's your outlook for the market, especially with regards all of these issues that have come up and how consumers are reacting to it, and how LCCI as a group will continue to interface with all stakeholders concerned?
I think the first thing we need to look at is the policy issue. We need to ask ourselves, the present industry as it's been operated, is it sustainable? Personally speaking, I say no. We've always advocated for island mode power structure. That's it's an irony. We have Egbe in Lagos. They will have to first transmit to Osogbo before you now share some portion to Ikeja and Eko. Why don't you allow Egbe to supply Lagos, improve Lagos GDP, and the excess is wheeled to the national grid? The same thing, the more pathetic one is Port Harcourt. You can see the number of generating plants around Port Harcourt area, but day in, day out, there are power cuts, power shortage in Port Harcourt area. And after Lagos, the next industrial hub in this country is Port Harcourt. So until we start looking at effective policies, we may not have a good, the desired change we all look forward to. So policy is key. Hopefully the ministerial nominees have been confirmed. Let's say we become the power minister, and let's say the policy wants to roll out. But for some of us, we believe we must have a rethink. Even globally, national grid is becoming obsolete. People are looking at regional power generation, and it will help our case, because the cost of increasing transmission capacity is overwhelming, and that is why even the last government agreed that they need to privatize our transmission infrastructure. So, I mean, but if we have a regional thing, it is only a swing capacity that will be taken to the national grid. And that's one. And two, we also need to segment. That's already in existence anyway, but we need to focus more on it. We need to segment our power consumption pattern. The industrial users, the commercial users, and the residential. The last, unfortunately, is the most popular, you and I. But funny enough, what you and I consume is very small. We also need to look at it policy-wise. Do we really need to continue the way we are going, or we need to focus more on a good energy mix? Energy mix as in renewable.
Okay, so that's in the days ahead, that's what we're going to be focusing on. Yeah. I'll definitely have you back on the program again to focus on that. But thank you so much, Engineer Edith, for coming on the program this morning. Effiong Medet is the chairman, Power Group Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We've got another perspective entirely. We're moving away from electricity issue to talk about good corporate governance. Join us again.